This is the fifth lesson in our Chapter 0, 6th grade review. This is all about multiplying and dividing decimals. So let's get right to it. Our first set of notes, it's our set of notes for multiplying decimals. First step is to remove and record the decimals. So what we mean by that is we come over here and we take a look at our multiplication problem. Okay, we're kind of going to take the notes as we do the example problem for this one. So we're going to remove the decimals from these two numbers. So a lot of times decimals trip kids up. They want to line them up for multiplying, but that's an adding and subtracting thing. So we are going to take them out. But before we do that, we are going to record how many place values are after our decimal points in each number. So after the decimal, I have 1, 2 digits in the first number. I have 1 digit in the second number. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I'm going to record that here in a circle. And then I'm going to remove those decimals from the numbers. I'm going to act like they're not even there. Okay? So step 2, line up and multiply. Line up, that means I'm putting the 345 on the top. Remember, I have removed the decimals. So that's no longer 3 and 45 hundredths. It's 345. This guy is no longer 7 and 2 tenths. It's 72. So we're just going to treat this like it's a multiplication problem for two whole numbers. Okay, now we multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 4, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to change colors here. Next, we're multiplying by the tens place, so I'm going to put my 0 here because we're not really multiplying by 7, we're multiplying by 70. And that kind of offsets the place value there when we put the 0. Now, 7 times 5 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 3 is 31. Carry that 3. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 3 is 24. Finish with an addition problem. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry that 1. 1 plus 6 plus 1 is 8. 0 plus 4 is 0. 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. 0 plus 2 is 2. All right, so we've done our multiplication, did our first step, did our second step, third step, replace the decimal. That's the significance of this 3 right here. It tells us where to put our decimal in our final answer. So we start all the way at the right, and we jump in 3 place values, 1, 2, 3, place your decimal, and then write your final answer, 24 and 84 hundredths. We want to clean up that 0 at the end. No need to keep that there. Okay, so there's multiplying. Very easy as long as you remember our 3 steps. Remove and record the decimals, line them up and multiply, and then replace the decimal at the end. Okay, next we are going to talk about dividing. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to talk about the step. We're going to do it in our example part. Okay, so the very first thing, I probably should have a first note here that says to set up the problem. Most of your problems will be given to you like this, and your job is to write them using the division house. Remember, the first number always goes inside that house. The second number, no matter how big or how small, goes on the outside. So we read this problem as 1 and 65 hundredths divided by 2 tenths. We read this problem the same way, 1 and 65 hundredths divided by 2 tenths. So, step 1, move the decimal outside. If there's a decimal on the outside of your division house, it has to go. We cannot keep it there. So we're going to move it all the way to the end of the problem, and we're going to count the number of place values that we moved it. We moved it once. Step 1, finished. Step 2, move the decimal inside. Now that we moved the decimal outside one place value, we have to move it inside one place value as well to keep things balanced. Okay. After we do that step, I really like to rewrite the problem. I think that it gets a little gummy up there with all the markings and the decimals, and this just looks a lot nicer here. Our new problem is 16 and 5 tenths divided by 2. Step 3, decimal up and divide. What that means is take your decimal, move it up directly above where it's at inside the house, move it into your quotient, and now we can do some division. 16 divided by 2, or 16 and 5 tenths divided by 2. 2 does not go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0 there to hold my place. I think that's a really smart move for us. 2 goes into 1 0 times, but 2 does go into 16 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16, and we can do some quick subtraction. 16 minus 16 is 0. Bring down that 5. 2 goes into 5 twice. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract that 4, we get a 1. Now we have to bring down a 0. And 2 goes into 10 5 times. So our final answer is 8 25/100. No need to move your decimal like we did to multiply. We dealt with our decimal right away. Remember, step 3, decimal up and divide. You may want to watch these problems a couple times. Make sure you're confident. And if you have any questions about this lesson, please ask.